Okay, sorry for the delay on the video, guys. I wasn't feeling very well yesterday, so I didn't get to it. So what I've done, I noticed a few people still haven't had a chance to finish this one up. So work on finishing this up and getting it submitted. Once you've done that, we're going to work on this one, but I'm going to give you until next week. Sorry. Give you one extra week. So if you're missing things, get them done. And then get this one submitted. So this one, you need to submit in two parts. So the first part is you're just going to fill out the chart, and I'll show you that in a second. And then you're going to submit that here for feedback. And then you're going to use what you've collected as well as my edits to do your summary. So you need to do this one first with enough turnaround time to get this part into me. That's why I've backed it out to the 8th. So if you do get it finished this week, that's fantastic. It'll give you lots of time to sort of do the summary. Okay, so what you've been given is a narrative story. So you're going to add this into your OLC folder. So make a picture. You're going to read through the story. This one's called Zoo. And then you're going to look at the different elements of a narrative. So you're going to do a plot graph summary. And then you're going to wait for feedback from me. You're going to submit that before you do this bottom part. Okay. So it's not a huge task, but it does take some time. So things about a narrative. There are things that are usually always answered when you're writing or when you're looking at a short story. So there's some consistent things. You'll figure out who the main characters are or who all the characters are. So you would list those here. Some people may want to do full sentences up here because it's kind of what you'll use down there. It's up to you. I'll leave it to you. And then there's going to be some kind of conflict or some kind of problem or complication in the story. So it might be two people fighting. So it'd be man versus man. It might be something like man versus nature, like a hurricane hits. Man versus himself. There might be some kind of internal battle happening with the character, or man versus supernatural, which is the case with this story. So when you're looking at where the story's set, sometimes there'll be more than one setting. So you need to look through the story and you're going to list, when. Oh, my brain. So when the story's set, and then also where. So sometimes this will change. Sometimes you'll get details about a time and a place. In this story, there's a couple different settings that you would want to list. So make sure you get those details. Okay, so those tend to be the things that happen in the beginning of a story that are laid out by the author. As you get going, you're going to have the middle of the story and the end of the story. Okay, so in order to figure out the middle of the story, so sorry. You also need to write down what is the conflict. So the conflict in this story comes fairly early. And it's actually, I'm going to give this one to you guys because I've already had a student reach out about it. But it's the zoo actually arriving. So Professor Hugo's interplanetary zoo settling down for its annual 6-hour visit in the Chicago area. So the conflict is the zoo arriving and how that's going to go. Okay. So there's going to be a whole bunch of things that happen that are called the rising action of the story. And then you're going to have some kind of climax or turning point. And the turning point in this story is a little funny. I might actually give it away just because it's a little different. So the turning point in this story is when when you actually figure out that the humans are the zoo that is being visited. So even though Professor Hugo is coming to Earth, so the conflict is how that visit's going to go. The turning point is when you realize the humans actually are the zoo. So the spider, what are they called? The spider creatures. They're coming to actually visit different planets, and they see you as the zoo, not the reverse. So that's kind of the turning point in this story, is when you realize that. So what are the events in the rising action would be the things that lead up until that point. The events in the falling action, sometimes this can be very quick. And in this case, the resolution comes really late at the end of the story. So there's not a lot that happens, but you could write some of the things that happen in the falling action. So what happens once we realize that the humans were actually the zoo and not the reverse? Okay, then you're going to talk about how the conflict was resolved. Was there actually a resolution to this? And then how you think the main character has changed. So those are the things that you're going to respond to. And then we will move on to the summary part.